Year one of James Gunn's DCU has come to a close. How is it doing though? Time to stop and rank all 3 official DCU projects from the worst to the best. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Let me know, what did you think about year one of the DCU, and what is your ranking of all 3 projects? And year one is very James Gunn centric because all 3 projects were written by James Gunn himself, and a lot of it was directed by him as well. One quick announcement before we get started. I am doing a live event this Thursday, October 16th at Concordia University, talking about the rise and the fall of the MCU from a branding perspective with a branding professor, marketing professor at Concordia University. It's a free event that is open to the public, though it is also officially an event for Concordia students. I would love to see you there. I'll have information down below in the description, and let's get started. In last, Creature Commandos. Now, a few days back, I put out a video about how my hype for the future of the DCU has been greatly diminished by the last week. And I put it out after watching the finale of Peacemaker Season 2, which was the foundation for my frustration in like, I've got some concerns that I didn't previously have about the future of the DCU after watching that episode. But that I left out some important context, which is that I also finally watched Creature Commandos and finished Creature Commandos. I started watching it months back, but it was kind of at the wrong moment in time, and I watched the Weasel episode. It was just a little bit too heavy at that specific moment. So this past week, I finally finished Creature Commandos, and I just never really got into it. That there were things in it that I always enjoyed, and at its best, James Gunn is able to take the weirdest of characters and find the humanity and find the tragedy. And so I stopped watching it back in January, not because I thought what he had been doing was bad, but because I felt maybe it was too effective, that it was so emotionally heavy and such an emotional gut punch watching that Weasel episode and his backstory with the children, how he's perceived, the desperation, that I was like, I don't really want to keep watching this because it's just, I'm not in the mood to go through this much emotional turmoil watching something that is quirky and funny at the same time. And so I didn't finish it until this past week. And so there's things that are really powerful in it, can be funny and entertaining. And at the same time, I felt like the set of characters lacked enough to anchor them. That he always has these wild, wacky characters, but you have enough of the Star-Lords or the Bloodsports or whoever that kind of creates enough of a normal human anchor that has a relatability, a stronger point of reference character for the crazy that's all around you, and the percentage of just completely wild characters and Nazi killing robots and Frankensteins, and it was just such a high percentage of those characters that it just felt a little too distant than Guardians or the Suicide Squad. And then as it kind of went along, I felt that some of that, what the Weasel episode, I was like, oh, that was really cool. And then it just felt like we did that exact same thing for everyone. And at a point in time, it just becomes emotionally manipulative. Like, what is just the most gut-wrenching way that you can play this out? Okay, police officers are shooting an unarmed man in the back because he's trying to hug his daughter. And it just becomes so overcooked emotionally that all of a sudden it's like, maybe this isn't, the bag of tricks is getting lost here. And to me, it felt like perhaps, combined with what I'm about to say about some of the Peacemaker Season 2 stuff, that trying to crank out 2 seasons of television and a movie that's setting off a universe, at a certain point in time, it was too much. And not to say that it was all bad or that I didn't get any enjoyment out of it, but I just always felt at arm's length with this specific set of characters, and it didn't help that running parallel to finishing Creature Commandos, where kind of the human anchor is Rick Flag Sr., I'm watching Peacemaker Season 2, where he becomes a full-blown villain. And so this guy that had he been handled differently, would have been a little bit of that emotional anchor for Creature Commandos, that human connection. All of a sudden, I just perceive of him as a monster that I don't like in light of Peacemaker Season 2, which in many ways hurt a really important thing that I needed for Creature Commandos. So there's a lot of good things in here, but I just really never got into it. I never got invested the way I got invested in Peacemaker. Today's video is brought to you by HelloFresh. Fall is almost here. That means cooler nights, craving heartier meals, and wanting something warm and satisfying. This season, HelloFresh has had a massive upgrade with their biggest menu yet. HelloFresh has doubled their menu. That means you can choose from 100 options each week. Likewise, you can feel great because their menu is even healthier with high protein and veggie-packed recipes. Here's the part that I love. You can get steak and seafood delivered to your door every week, no extra cost. There's 3 times more seafood on the menu now at no extra cost. I'm not a cook, not a chef. They deliver the exact ingredients in the right proportions with clear directions on how to make these delicious meals. Therefore, even someone like me that does not know what they're doing is able to cook an amazing meal. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/SeanChandler10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/SeanChandler10FM to get 10 free meals plus free item for life. Our runner-up, Peacemaker Season 2. Now, in my review for the finale in Season 2 and the video that followed afterwards, I was pretty negative on Peacemaker Season 2, so for the most part, I'm going to try and focus on the positive and with just a little bit of the negative towards the end of it, my frustrations. But what I thought this season did really well was, in an era where multiverse is used for cameo fests, it used multiverse for character work. And it's like it just understood our lead character and the trauma that broke him and what you can do to create the ultimate temptation for him. Which is, he just wants to be loved, which is so humanly, this set of crazy characters have a lead character that just wants to be loved, as wacky and weird as he is. And he finds a world where his dad loves him, his brother is alive and can love him, and his best friend, that the girl that seems to keep rejecting him will actually pursue him. And in this world, it seems like he's even the better version of himself to all 3 of these people, that they like him the way he is. And the public loves him. He's adored. And you create a temptation for our character to escape reality. And it's just a really clever way to use the multiverse that's not what everyone else is doing, which is, hey, look, a different version. Look, a cameo. No, it's for character work. And there's a lot in that I thought worked really nicely. And just in general, the whole season is designed to dig in deeper on what really makes our characters tick and who they're turning into. The journey of the show is so many of them figuring out who they really are, what they really want. And they had victory with the last season, and now here's the turmoil that comes afterwards, and they're processing through all of that, all the different voices. And that's what the finale did really well, did the emotional crescendo for really 2 seasons of character work, of bringing them together, kind of pulling them apart, bringing them through the ringer, and then them realizing that they belong together. And the things so often that are keeping them from each other are listening to the wrong voices. There's a lot in that is really profound and powerful. The character work in the season is really sharp. There's plenty of solid humor. And I just love the concept of Peacemaker getting to be friends with his brother. And his dad, even in Nazi world, being a father figure to him that's decent and giving him good advice. The end of the season, the finale, made me very frustrated with the season as a whole, though, because it just made it so clear the pacing was way off, that there's like 4 episodes about trying to get into Chris's house, and then we speed run through almost like half a season worth of plot in 1 episode. And it's just like, why didn't you just do episodes 1 through 7 is the first 4 episodes, and everything that happens in this is the last 4 episodes. Just seems so obvious that there's too much plot in episode 8 and too little plot in episodes 1 through 7. And then likewise, I just wish that there'd been an external conflict. Not that everything, it doesn't have to be as big of a global threat stopping an invasion, but there was just nothing. Like Argus trying to get into Chris's house and wanting to arrest him is not a compelling external threat. And then you introduce Nazi Planet, and even that, it's all it is we just need to get to the portal and get out of here. It's not that we're trying to stop them and overcome them. And so it just made the season feel like it lacked any oomph. Season 1, we stopped an alien invasion. Season 2, we learned to listen to the right voices. It just was lacking something, and that 1-2 punch of finishing Creature Commandos and not getting into it, and then the character assassination from Rick Flag Sr., turning him into a full-blown villain that doesn't care that his employees are being killed as he's working for Lex Luthor just because he's mad at Peacemaker. It's just like, this is too big of a villain turn in too short of a time period. And you've made him a monster and a totally unlikable character that's not written very well. But like I said, it wasn't that all along the way I was enjoying it. And even episode 8, it's not that I disliked the episode in and of itself, but the season as a whole was the issue that kind of pulled it down. And once again, getting to that idea of just feels like James Gunn wrote too much in too short of a period of time, and that eventually had consequences. But easily coming in first place is Superman. I love Superman. He's one of my 2 favorite superheroes with Batman, and pretty much every iteration I enjoy. Whether you're talking about movies, reading the comics back in the 90s, that's when my sister and I wrote her Bites the Comic Store and The Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman. That was my introduction to fresh new comics when they were coming out. And whether Smallville, Lois and Clark, the animated shows, I eat kind of all of it up. And James Gunn found a way to still have a fresh new take on a character that has been explored so many different times in so many different ways over the last 30 years. And he went back to the core of Superman, this all-powerful Boy Scout with very traditional, wholesome values, but found a way to have kind of this very 21st century flavor to it. It feels old, but it is entirely modern in its own way in who are the rebels in our society and what would that look like? What would a modern day Boy Scout, shucks Boy Scout look like in a modern day world? But also, it just drops us into the deep end of this populated comic book world at the exact same time. That everywhere you turn, there's some lively character, some piece of lore, some sci-fi thing, an interdimensional portal. Everything is so rich and comic booky without feeling embarrassed by that. It's proud of that. And so we've reached a point in time where the genre's evolved and audiences have just become accustomed to these things. And so you can just lean so hard into the insanity that is the comic books. And that's a good thing. And that's a fun thing. And James Gunn is one of the people that's really good at that. And it kind of even understands so much of the 21st century, which is public image, and uses that as one of the biggest threats that Superman faces, is how he's perceived by people and what that does to his self-image as he processes through all of that while having kaiju show up and other clones and all these other things, and Lex Luthor, the mastermind. You have all of these different things that he's processing through, battling against, trying to save the day, and what just makes for an iteration of Superman that feels like so many of these old animated shows brought to life. What they've been able to do in animation and in the comics, we're finally seeing a live action version of it. And it was just refreshing. As someone that voiced serious concerns about them putting crypto in the movie, I was like, oh, it just worked in the world they created. You won me over. I was the cynic and you won me over. You did it. While I've got my concerns about maybe James Gunn doing too much and how is he overseeing the big picture of all of this, the movie that kicked off the DCU, I thought did a great job of introducing us to this fun, lively new James Gunn, very comic booky DCU. So it easily comes in at number 1. Couple extra notes here because of the kind of quirky nature of the DCEU to the DCU, to let you know where some other things would fall in. I would put Peacemaker Season 1 right between Peacemaker Season 2 and Superman, that I really enjoyed it. It's not something that is close to home and something that I'm as likely to rewatch as I would Superman, but like a show that was surprisingly addictive and actually felt like television, but also felt like it had stakes to it. And then you've got The Suicide Squad. I would say that as just a movie in and of itself, I think that The Suicide Squad is better than Superman, that I think it's a little tighter in certain areas. But which one am I more likely to rewatch and mean more to me in the long run? I would easily go with Superman. So it's a little bit kind of one of those tricky ones of, you play the character that I love, I'm just drawn towards, he's that number 1. But I love the way the Suicide Squad was, what it did with character work, and is able to take these wild, crazy characters and make you care about them on a human level and give them a relatability without feeling manipulative the way that Creature Commandos started to feel manipulative. If I were to say, how do I feel the DCU is doing after 1 year? I feel like because everything was written by James Gunn, you don't really know yet. Until we see Lanterns in Supergirl, I don't feel like we really have a good feel for how this thing's gonna work, because we just have James Gunn's version of it right now. 3 projects that he wrote, and I think he wrote too much in 1 year, and that compromised 2 of the projects a little bit. One of them felt rushed at the end, and the other one I just never felt as connected to as I felt like I probably should have. So what's next you're going to bring us? That is the true test of, does this feel like a cohesive universe? Can other people join his universe and it feels like a part of it, but they also have their own voice? We'll find out soon. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. What is your ranking of year 1 of the DCU? You can throw in the other James Gunn projects in there if you would like. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.